State Mike Pompeo is heading to Pyongyang this week to resume negotiations. But new reports suggest North Korea may be trying to deceive the U.S. about its nuclear efforts. According to NBC, U.S. intelligence agencies believe the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un may be trying to hide multiple nuclear facilities and has stepped up production of fuel for nuclear weapons at multiple secret sites. One U.S. official said, quote, "There's no evidence that they are decreasing stockpiles or that they have stopped their production, and there is absolutely unequivocal evidence that they are trying to deceive the U.S." Meanwhile, according to the Wall Street Journal, North Korea has moved forward with a major expansion of a key missile manufacturing plant. Reports come after just 3 weeks after President Trump returned from his Singapore summit with Kim Jong-un and boasted there is no longer a nuclear threat from North Korea and we can all sleep well tonight. As recently as this weekend, the president was showing the utmost confidence in the North Korean leader. Let's watch.
I got along really well with Chairman Kim. We had a great chemistry. We really had Chairman Kim.
But do we believe him, Mr. President?
I made a deal with him. I shook hands with him. I really believe he means it.
Joining me now, NBC News intelligence and national security reporter Ken Delaney. And so, Ken, what is the scope of what you're learning North Korea is doing here?
Well, Steve, these latest U.S. intelligence assessments tell the American government that North Korea is secretly enriching uranium and other nuclear fuel at multiple secret undeclared sites, one of which the U.S. may have only found out about recently. And even more important than that, Steve, is that the U.S. Intelligence community has picked up evidence that the North intends to deceive the Trump administration and the United States about this. In other words, is not prepared to come clean about its nuclear program. And not only the enrichment, about the number of missiles, the number of warheads, and other key factors that it would have to declare as part of any denuclearization effort. Now, this kind of cat and mouse game is not uncommon in nuclear negotiations. We saw it with the Iran deal. The U.S. intelligence community tries to catch the adversary country, and the adversary country tries to hide stuff. But what's interesting and here is that Donald Trump does not appear to acknowledge any of this. And even today, when White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders was asked about our reporting and other reporting, she just basically blew it off and said, look, there's positive momentum for change and we're moving forward. You know, John Bolton yesterday on television, the National Security Advisor, said, yes, we understand North Korea plays cat and mouse games, but he suggested that they were on track to denuclearize within a year, which no expert thinks is possible. So it's really hard to understand what the Trump administration's strategy is here, Steve.
And in terms of where this stands, too, when they left that, when Trump and Kim Jong-un left that summit in Singapore, there was no formal agreement with specific terms. This would be a violation of goodwill for a future, more comprehensive agreement. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. And that's a confusing thing about this, because Donald Trump essentially told the American public that there was a deal, but there is no deal. North Korea has not agreed to denuclearize. They have agreed to less than they've agreed to in the past. They essentially agreed to get on a path towards denuclearization without defining what that term means. And so it's absolutely true that none of this that the U.S. has found they're doing violates any deal. But analysts have looked at it and said, this does not look like a country that is even moving in the direction of denuclearizing. They are still working on their nuclear program, their missile program. They're still expanding facilities, both in open source reporting and in secret U.S. intelligence reporting, Steve.
And as Ken alluded to a minute ago there, despite these reports of deception by North Korea, there are those in the White House who are remaining publicly optimistic about the negotiations. According to Axios, some White House officials hope a round two with President Trump can be held in New York in September, when world leaders pour into Trump's hometown for the UN General Assembly. And before that, Ken, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is supposed to sit down with North Korean officials much closer to right now. What is the sense, though, in terms of how forthcoming North Korea is going to be in that sit down with Pompeo?
Well, that is exactly what U.S. officials are watching for, Steve. I mean, they know things. They would rather that this hadn't leaked out. But there's still some things that they know that the North Koreans don't know they know. And so they're going to look at this. If Mike Pompeo gets a declaration from the North Koreans about, here's our nuclear program, here are the facilities, here's how many weapons we have, they will look to see whether that matches what they understand about the program. That'll be the first indication of good faith. And look, this is a negotiation, and it's a much better situation than threatening war. But at the same time, analysts are concerned that Donald Trump is being duped, is being played. And at some point, he's going to realize that and then become angered, walk away, and then we're in a worse situation than when we began these talks, Steve.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.